Welcome to the Casual Nerdcast. I'm your host, Justin. Joining us for tonight, Evan.
Taylor Swift sucks.
Andrew.
That's too bad because that's what we're talking about today for an hour and a half.
And your Az.
I'm indifferent to Taylor Swift.
Alright, I'll help you out, Andrew.
Oh man, the new album, everyone, is great.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna cut your dick off.
Alright, guys. Let's go back to the games.
We weren't ever at games.
Let us go back to on topic.
Taylor Swift the game? Oh,
Taylor Swift
shit.
the game.
She was in a rock band, I think. Or Guitar Hero, one of them. She had one of her songs.
So would it just be like constantly crying about people who don't like you anymore?
Yeah, but I love it. It's like my life.
Okay, so let's start on with our first topic here. Apparently, retirees dominate the MMO market of the future. So this article is saying that World of Warcraft, Hearthstone could dominate retirement home gaming. A new study is showing that apparently they're looking at the demographics, and there is is it a growing amount? Yes, it is a growing amount of a specific age group, specifically those who have retired, are now playing MMOs such as WoW.
So I also want to point out something about this that I thought was kind of funny. So as a younger player who wanted to play, M-rated games and stuff, how many forums did you say that you were, I don't know, like 87 or something like that? So I wonder what percentage of these retired people are actually people who are now around the age of 20 who just to World of Warcraft are like 80.
Yeah, where do they get these age numbers from is what I'm curious, because everyone puts like January 1st, 19 whatever,
Yeah,
50 or 1900 or something.
I remember when you used to be able to just hit one, and you're like, January 11, 1111.
It's
And
like
it wasn't
that.
fair.
Yeah, it's like that one joke where Steam is saying, "Oh yeah, statistically, it's more likely that someone's birthday is on January 1st."
So Evan makes a good point that those ages might...
Yeah, I'd be interested to know how they actually got this. Maybe,
Well, I mean, okay, so also talking about World of Warcraft, so World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, and most of Blizzard's games, aside from StarCraft, are very, very easy to get into. They have an amazing tutorial system. Even when I worked at EB, we did get a lot of the older crowd coming in and buying game time cards.
Yeah.
So it doesn't throw me off at all. This makes a lot of sense. And I mean, World of Warcraft, time sync isn't the word that I want to use, but that's what it is. But I mean, it is definitely a way to spend your year.
Yeah. It's also like it mentioned because I know when I was a kid, I was like, "What happens if I'm 80 and I can't even move my thumbs?" I've had that nightmare where you're like really old and you really can't play, and you don't want to play like Call of Duty 436 or whatever when we're older. And like maybe you're just gonna play a little Hearthstone, and just drag those little frog things.
Excuse me.
Like
Yeah,
it's
like I can see Hearthstone, yeah, but I
yeah.
don't see WoW as being an elder generation playing it. It's
Why not?
actually, you know what? I don't think it's as simple as some people make it out to be. I mean,
When's the last time you played it?
well, I played it Lich King.
Yeah, because they've reduced it a lot since then. Mists of Pandaria took all of the stats and like combined them into, I don't know, I'm gonna say 8 different core stats. I don't actually know. They combined a lot of them and they reduced it. And they also like took out a lot of talent trees and stuff like that. It's a really, really simple game to understand, and especially I don't know. I mean, like for somebody who's retired, I can easily see them getting into the system that is World of Warcraft, because I don't know. I don't want to kind of blanket statement. I really don't want a blanket statement say that like, oh, the elderly generation is not going to understand. But because it is easy to get into. It's just there's a lot there, but there's a lot of resources out there to get into it.
How old are we saying is a retired person now? Like 60? What?
I think 65 is.
Yeah, something
I-
along
being
those
considered.
lines.
I don't think I know a single person like over 60
Yeah,
that
I
that that knows
oh
Oh,
Oh.
your eyes chopping up.
how to even. So,
Knows how to
how
start?
what?
did you guys catch what I said?
so
No.
No.
no
You
you
don't know
dropped
a
off
single
for a
person
second.
over 65 who.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I don't know anyone over like 60-ish who knows how to even use email properly. Like that's just my personal experience.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
not the best.
I don't know because
I
like
don't think I know a single person in my family or in my anyone that they always ask me for help with their computers. They don't even know how to do anything other than basic email. So I find it very difficult for a game like World of Warcraft
Yeah,
for them to
like
get into that. Maybe Hearthstone,
I
maybe if somebody set it up for them and got them into it.
yeah, like
Wow,
I brought up this article and like it's less news article and more like people just sort of having fun, thinking it was. I think they were talking more about the future, like people
Yeah.
like us or like
yeah, okay.
people who are like maybe 30s, like they grew up with the NES. Then like yeah, like it was more like a people should look into like these slower paced MMO type games, and they put like League of Legends and Dota like in the category of MMO, whether you think it is or not. Like that's just what they statistically categorize them as. It's just like in the future, this might be even bigger than it is already, or like this is just something to think about. I thought it was interesting just to think about.
yeah, and definitely like my dad. I'm not gonna say how old he is just to defend him, but he is approaching the age of retirement. Let's put it that way. As I can hear it from my room. That guy's playing Command and Conquer Tiberian Wars like 1 versus 2, like brutal AI. Like he'll do that for on and on for like an hour or two.
That is some of the few exceptions.
Yeah, I know. I always ask him 1v1 me. He's just like, I don't want to play you. But then like, and when I don't challenge him, he just talks trash. Also at work, my team lead, he actually came up to me and asked me a few times, saying like, "Hey, so what's good on the market right now? I'm looking for like an RTS and stuff." And he's easily like what 40, 50, I want to say. So I mean, like it's not that like it definitely surprises me that like there are some people of that age that are as interested as we are in video games, but not as probably well informed. But those people do exist as much as
They
you
do
think.
exist, but
Yeah.
not in the large numbers that they're thinking of. And
Yeah.
also, I want to mention
I
that.
definitely don't think so. I think that they do exist in in that.
Yeah,
I
like people
definitely
who are
think there's
40
enough out there.
the people
Right,
who are
right.
40 now, when like the NES came out, were like 20 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so like that stuff wouldn't have been like completely like, ugh, kids playing these video games. They're like, oh yeah, that could be fun.
Or even if we just think about it within the last since 2006, right? Like, Wii's have been
Yeah.
pushed into
Okay.
retirement homes since 2006, right? So the idea of playing games has been completely open to even like an old age home, right? And let's be honest. So, and you use an example of email. World of Warcraft and Hearthstone and even Diablo are way better designed than any email client I've ever seen in terms of like teaching you how to use it and teaching you what to do and teaching you the mechanics in a way that you're going to understand it, right? Like this stuff is a lot easier to get into than we think.
I still struggle to find a way to set my email signature sometimes.
To be honest, I still don't know what labels does in Gmail. And I
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that, installing WoW, like, it's a pretty big install, right? How big is it now?
It's like 12 gigs, I think.
12 or 15, And obviously, this obviously from my point of view, from what I've dealt with, like the elder generation, I'd say 60 plus. They have shitty internet connection and shitty bandwidth caps. Like they probably have 30 gig caps or 60 gig caps, and they'll destroy their internet with with the downloads.
I don't know. I
It's-
think you might be generalizing a little bit too much.
Maybe I am. It's not. It's just from my personal experience, but I could be completely off.
I can see where you're coming from, but I mean like to be technologically savvy is to have good internet. Like it's almost like those two are in parallel. So
Yeah.
I mean, if your parents are kind of like or grandparents or whoever it may be who are elder generation, if they're not technological, they're not really good with technology, then the need for internet is almost like non-existent. So
They just get internet. They just go by price, right?
yeah,
What's the cheapest one? I'm just gonna do some email. All
yeah,
right.
yeah, basically. But like if if there's someone that's gonna be very in with technology and always updating, they're gonna want nice technology. They're gonna want data all the time to keep themselves connected. Yeah. So I mean, it's not necessarily true that all elderly people will have slow internet. So
Not slow internet, yeah,
well,
but
like not as fast internet that could support constant fast speeds with playing WoW constantly.
I think yeah. Well, speed I think is not the issue. I think it's just the cap. They usually go for the cheap internet with low cap, and they don't really consider that. But that's just one factor that I've
Yeah.
noticed.
I also think like this article kind of brings up what might tie in as like the rise of casual games too, because like a lot of people are now trying to get into gaming as well. So it could be the case that like a lot of people there's gonna be a much higher demand for casual non-serious games. And I mean like look at us when we turn like 20, 30 plus from here on out. Like
Yeah, that's my question. Like when we're 60, what are we gonna want to play?
like can we still play Titanfall? Like Titanfall 6 or something, Titanfall 7.
Yeah, like I personally getting home from work, I can't even like play anything because I'm like tired.
Yeah.
I just wanna relax. So actually, I've been trying some Infinity Wars, the trading card game. Just trying that out because it's a casual game, not a lot of thinking involved or not a lot of attention required. Like Titanfall, you got to really be paying attention if you want to get good. You got to be focused. Well, same with FIFA too, but there's the casual games that you just want to relax, just play a couple games,
So what we
chill
should
out.
do is we should start thinking of a game right now, catered specifically to 60-year-olds, like 30 years in the future. It's gonna be a
Start
big,
developing it now.
gonna be a big market.
I was gonna say before you said the future, I'm like that already exists. There's Candy Crush and Bejeweled.
Oh
We
my
need-
god.
yeah, we need the new Candy Crush.
Farmville.
I don't know.
30-year game development.
I don't know.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
thought it was just interesting to think about us
Yep.
from now. It's funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to something else now, which I found really interesting. Did you guys hear about the guy who threatened Gabe Newell on Twitter?
Yeah.
I
He
see
got
what
his
I was
ass
saying.
handed to him on a platter,
So
and it was
basically,
fantastic.
yeah. So basically, to give some background information regarding this, the developer saw that his game that he created was labeled with early access, even though it was a full-fledged game. He felt very insulted and decided to take it to Twitter, threatened Gabe Newell with, what did he say? I don't remember. Saying
It's
how he
like-
was incompetent.
He basically said, "I'm gonna come and kill you." Like
Yeah.
that was the tweet. Was he basically said, "Gabe Newell, I'm going to kill you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then,
it was,
yeah.
then guess what? His game disappeared from Steam.
Oh, I'm so surprised.
Ah.
I'm absolutely completely surprised.
I actually like the idea of Gabe Newell being the one who has to go and like he types the text for every game that goes on Steam, and he's like early. He types in early access every time, or like not, or like full.
Yeah.
I imagine because he doesn't do that yet.
This was definitely his personal fault. Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, the guy
It's,
apologized, but yeah, it was already too late.
I don't know. It's just incredibly unprofessional and should have been handled in a million different ways by him.
I honestly don't think taking it to Twitter is ever a good idea. Never rant on Twitter.
Well, I
Never
mean,
do.
taking stuff to Twitter and pointing out that Steam labeled your game incorrectly is not necessarily horrible because
Yeah,
this guy
okay,
had
there's
his
that.
game come out and just kind of pointing out like day one, hey, my game is not early access. Tell all your friends so that I can get because day one for game purchases or week one, day one is fantastic, but in terms of how many people actually buy your game. So I mean, being mislabeled day one is a huge issue. Actually,
Yeah,
but
Oh.
but
Could've
telling
been
people in an
handled.
angry manner is
This could have been dealt a lot of different ways. I mean, he probably could have emailed Steam and then just say, "Hey, can we postpone this release a week, maybe, or something?" And
Yeah.
then have like a new day one release so that the game isn't early access anymore. I mean, I know that hits him hard, but
But I
But
mean,
apparently,
there's
even
many
like,
other.
but like other indie developers have come out and say like, to be honest, day one doesn't really matter for indie games. Like we sell a lot more copies during Steam
Mhm.
sales than we ever do. But also another thing is zero things get better with death threats. Like
Yes.
like
Yes.
on a scale of like if there's a pile of things that are you should never do, it's a pretty small pile. Even like killing someone is like it's World War II. We gotta fight for justice and freedom. Like you gotta kill some people. So, but like threatening to kill someone on Twitter is never, ever, 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 ever gonna help any situation.
no matter how many followers you have,
How
as long
many
as you're
followers
targeting
you have.
someone.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's probably like some little Twitter somewhere that has no followers and is literally just like death threats, and he's just literally threatening everybody as a follower.
Evan now is gonna make that Twitter account. At death
At
threats.
death
At death threats.
It's unfortunate that like these guys who put all this time to make this game got it taken down, but yeah.
Well, it's up again now. The
Yeah.
guy actually left the company.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the how they sorted this out. They're like, all right, so the only way we're gonna put this up is if that dude who threatened us leaves, and he did, which honestly I applaud him for very
Yeah.
much so.
He redeemed
That,
himself kind of in that sense.
that takes an obscene amount of balls to do that.
Yeah.
Because he flat out just said, yeah, I was wrong. Like I got angry. My bad.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
Well done.
yeah. At least he admits to it, and hopefully we wish him the best in his future endeavors. And hopefully,
I hope he rots in a hole somewhere. No, I'm kidding.
well, I mean, yeah. I mean, has anyone even played that game, or has
No,
did
it looks like Minecraft with space guns or something.
So like Ace of Spades or whatever that's called.
What?
Is it
I don't
called
know
Ace of
what game you're
Spades
talking
or
about.
something of? What is
It's
it?
paranautical activity.
Yeah. Oh wait, what is that game that looks like Minecraft but it's just a shooter?
I have no idea. Maybe it's that game.
No,
It looks like
it's,
that game.
I don't remember anymore.
Anyway, it's
But one thing I didn't understand is like he knew he was wrong or whatever, but what prompts someone to like you're typing it in the keyboard. It's not like you're saying it verbally. You actually have to type the words. You have to think about what you're typing.
yeah.
So I want to put you in a position where you've been working on a game for probably the past couple of years, and then
Yeah.
finally the day arrives where your game that you put your blood, sweat, and tears into is being released on Steam, and it goes wrong. Right?
Okay.
That sucks a lot.
Does,
If you
yeah.
have anybody that has some semblance of a temper, you're probably going to freak the fuck out. Like, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that everybody's going to threaten Gabe Newell for doing something like that.
Yeah.
But also, if this is somebody who generally says whatever they want on the internet or something like that, and generally treats the internet as a place where you can say whatever you want with no consequences, then I can easily see this happening. I mean, it sucks that it happened to him. I mean, he probably should have kept his temper down a little bit, but it doesn't surprise me that something like this happened. I mean, that day was probably one of the most stressful days of his life, depending on how many games he's released before.
But
Right,
you can
like,
you can say a lot of things, but to actually say you're gonna kill somebody, like that's taking it to another whole other level.
I know.
Apparently-
I mean,
Yeah.
apparently he's also had like the issues of him like ranting on Twitter or something have been like a problem before in the past. He said, like in his
Yeah.
letter, he's like, I've done this before, like, and I think that for the people that I worked with, like, it's better if I leave this company for them.
Yeah, I mean, like rants on Twitter happen all the time. I mean, look at Notch for instance. Like he
Yeah.
outright makes very very bold claims, and then eventually, like how when Facebook bought Oculus Rift, he's like, I'm cutting all support, and then later on he just kind of retracted back into support. And so it's like
and
it happens when people get angry. They'll just rant and make sure everyone hears them.
And it's also, and we also forget how easy it is to just tweet something.
Yeah.
right? Like it's so easy to just like open up your phone, tweet something. Who knows? Maybe he even had a couple drinks that night or something, right? Like it's not out of the question for
Yeah.
somebody to accidentally say that stuff and then 5 seconds later go, oh shit, what'd I do? Oh fuck, like I mean, who knows, right? Like it
Yeah.
happened. It's not unconceivable. I mean, it happened, so it's obviously not inconceivable. But I mean, it sucks. Kind of feel bad for the guy a little bit because obviously he was under a lot of stress that day, and something
Yeah.
bad happened, and we have no idea what else was happening in his life that day as well, right?
Yeah.
So
But at the same time, it's yeah, like it's good. Like I said, he kind of redeemed himself by falling on his own sword for his company or his ex company. But at the same time, it's cool. It's good to see that like it's the video game industry isn't just a whole bunch of man babies. It's like no, like you have to be professional and a grown up to work here, or else we
Yeah.
won't. And
yeah,
it's a shame what happened to him. He even brings up a couple of good points about like how Steam has a monopoly on like the PC gaming industry, and like these are like good points. It's just he's not currently the best advocate for these sort of issues.
yeah. Like he brings up the idea that Steam, if his game doesn't sell well on Steam, it's not going to sell well anywhere, right? Like a game will sell. If a game sells 14 copies a day on Steam, it's going to sell 1 copy a day everywhere else it's sold,
Yeah.
right? So he brings up a lot of good points. I do agree.
Yeah, I kind of forget that Steam is kind of a monopoly on indie games. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
Wonder-
Like competition is always better for consumers, but
I wonder when Origin's gonna step in on that.
Yes, EA, indie. I think if you sell a game under EA's title, that officially makes you completely separate from the entire indie.
Everyone will hate you.
It's not that everybody hates you. They're like them and Activision are the complete like they're
Fair
on
enough.
the way other side of the camp from indie.
That's true. It'd be really interesting to see like actually Humble Bundle's kind of doing that, aren't they? Selling indie games and stuff.
that's true.
Yeah, but then you also have to sell your game at like I mean, so if this guy's game it was released at what $15? I don't know.
Yeah.
If you go on Humble Bundle, I think the average Humble Bundle purchase is probably around $5. Like
Oh no
just
no
right
no no
around
no!
that.
Sorry! Not the bundle itself. The Humble Store, I think it's called.
I'd be
Think
really
it's
surprised if
sneaky
any games
that.
are sold very much from there.
Oh okay.
To be
Yeah.
honest, I think
Actually,
most of Humble's sales come from
Their
Yeah,
packs.
yeah, I think they come from Steam anyways. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully, his career is not completely on fire, and he'll find something else to do. Yeah.
Yep.
So just remember, do not rant on Twitter.
You're
If you-
funny.
If you ever feel like you're
That's
about to rant, just go to a cute cat instead.
That's like telling the internet not to call the people dicks,
Yeah. Yeah.
or like
yeah.
or like not say racial slurs, or not say like homosexuals. Like you're
Yeah, it's
just
going to happen.
you're just literally
We also advocate that though. Don't say those things.
what?
We also advocate don't say those things.
Yes, we do definitely, but you're
It
funny.
is an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Very
No,
uphill.
it is a rocky cliff that's actively pointing down towards you and stabbing you in the eyes.
All right, let's move on with this now before we accidentally say something we don't mean to. All right, so Valkyrie Chronicles is coming to PC.
Woo!
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for this.
Yeah, actually I didn't really notice until Evan brought it up. There's been a string of just JRPGs just been being released for PC.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So a long time ago, Final Fantasy 7 and 8 were released for PC, and they didn't really do well at all. So recently, actually, 7 and 8, and even 13
13.
were just 13 were released for PC, and then also not too long ago we got Tales of the Sky, and now we're getting Valkyria Chronicles. It's pretty interesting because it's kind of like a second breath for JRPGs, especially since the 3DS and PS Vita are fairly expensive to develop for. Over the past 10 years or so, JRPGs really have kind of flourished on PS2 and then DS and a little bit of PSP, just
Yeah.
because of the like the cost of making them, right? And especially since JRPGs don't really sell well over here.
And also, they just sold, like, the PSP and DS sold really, really well in Japan, and they still are, like, pretty strong, especially the 3DS. But, like, mobile gaming is taking us, like, bigger and bigger chunks of that, even the Japanese market.
Yeah. So I'm really happy to see that JRPGs specifically have kind of hopefully finding a home on PC gaming. I mean, like, I know these aren't new games, but if anybody expected that Valkyria Chronicles was ever going to be released for PC, I applaud you for being a psychic and a like, demon. But you know, like it's pretty cool. I'm really excited about it. I really wanted to play Valkyria Chronicles for a long time. I have a PS3, I know, but I just don't care enough to turn it on. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not that game is probably still one of my favorite games. Like, it's really good.
Really?
I'll go back and play it once. It's really good.
I'm gonna pick it up. Yeah, I've been meaning to always get into JRPGs. I'm hesitant to say the games that I've ever played were considered JRPGs.
But this is like a good JRPG because it's like half
action
turn-based it's a turn-based shooter.
Does Fire Emblem at all qualify as JRPG?
Oh, that's like a bread and butter JRPG.
Okay. Yeah.
The only way that you can get more bread and butter JRPG from Fire Emblem is like playing a flat-out ATB system game. Like, you're solid.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of that. I mean, even still, like, I replay a lot of it sometimes, so I'd be interested to see more JRPGs. Alright, technical difficulties, internet issues, Monkey started ripping out wires, and Uraz unfortunately lost internet wherever you are.
But through the magic of editing, the 1.5 hours of technical difficulties have been squeezed to 0 seconds for you.
So you don't have to endure it.
Yeah.
Alright, now, Evan, before we were interrupted by such technical difficulties, tell us more about JRPGs.
So what I was going to say is that JRPGs are running into, I think right now they're having this issue of there's a style of game that a lot of people who play games like I'm going to say 20 plus grew up with, right? Like, we all grew up with our Final Fantasies, we all grew up with our Dragon Quest and stuff like that. And the problem is that everybody wants the games to stay the same. But that's not really how games work. They innovate, right? So that's a weird place that they're running into right now. And I think that there's a lot of room for that to happen on PC, right? Because I still think that cost is a huge issue in terms of JRPGs coming out on most other consoles.
Yeah.
Because not only do they have to develop for it in Japan, but they generally have to translate it and then come out here, which is just a huge pain in the ass. I mean, the only way that Tales in the Sky came out is because they got a secondary company who's good at translation to actually translate the entire game, and it took them like 3 years.
I also find it interesting that as of recently, as far as I'm aware, before these couple of years, Japanese games have either exclusively been on Nintendo or Sony's side. So, like, I mean, Nintendo's always kind of just been, spreading around Mario Kart and all that stuff, and that's always exclusively on their platform. But on Sony's end, with their exclusive, Japanese-related companies, they've been releasing a lot now to, like, even Xbox and now, like you say, PC. So it's interesting to see how actually now, I guess, would you consider like a form of innovation that they're kind of like trying to spread out, or do you see it as them like just trying to spread out their market?
Yeah, I think that's just a sign of like rising costs. Like, before, you could sell just Metal Gear Solid on just PlayStation. Like, you could make your money back on just the PlayStations and the exclusivity deal. But now they had like Final Fantasy, Metal Gear Solid. They're on Xbox. They're potentially coming to PC. I know, like, Metal Gear Solid. Wait, is Metal Gear Solid 5 coming to PC? It is.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I've already had it on my Steam wishlist.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah, so, like, I think that's just a sign of what Evan was saying. Like, it costs so much to make these games. So, in that sense, the rising costs might actually be a really good thing for games now that they have to come to PC and they might be open up to these new ideas and stuff.
Yeah, just come to PC,
I think
please.
it's going to be a long time still until we start seeing like the really hardcore JRPGs coming to Xbox specifically Microsoft, just because of I mean, like PC's a globe-wide market, right? Like every PCs, it's fine. But especially for Xbox, that requires you know, Japanese companies to develop for an American console that nobody in Japan buys.
Yeah,
Right?
it's yeah, the incentive is not really there.
Especially like, well, the local incentive isn't there. Maybe and the market out here, I'm gonna guess. I mean, this new console generation is a little bit more lean towards a PS4, but it's pretty much 50-50 in terms of. I think it's definitely going to equal out to something more along the lines of that.
In the next 5 to 6 years, it'll be probably closer to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
closer to 50-50, right? So it's a really difficult for a company way out that's a company in Japan who like 80% of their customers have PS4s. It's probably even higher than that.
yeah.
And then across the world, 50% of people have PS4s. So they're literally developing for like a quarter of the market that they see.
Yeah, it's
right?
even harder because like you said earlier, like generally in North America, JRPGs just don't do well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right?
so it's even harder for them to, which is why I found it interesting that they're actually moving into like Xbox and stuff like that because it's like
well, it's only the bigger companies, right? Like it's only. I mean, Metal Gear Solid is not a JRPG. Final Fantasy is, but Final Fantasy is the JRPG.
But even
right?
even that's like on Xbox now. But like you said, like it is bigger company though. So yeah.
Yeah, but that is the JRPG that everybody knows. Like the only one that's secondary to that is Dragon Quest, right? And Dragon Quest is way smaller than Final Fantasy in terms of popularity.
Where does Kingdom Hearts fit in that scale?
That's a good question.
I think Kingdom Hearts is on that. It's still a JRPG. See, this is when we're starting to get into the conversation of what is a JRPG. Because I'm more talking about the like really hardcore turn-based.
Oh yeah, I've played a lot of those.
But I guess like things like Rogue Galaxy or Kingdom Hearts and stuff really do count towards that as well. But they're more little like action-based and stuff, right? And also Kingdom Hearts is definitely a lot easier to sell to a North American audience just due to the fact that there's Disney in it.
Yeah, right? and more action.
The second you put Mickey Mouse on anything, it's a lot of North America is going to flock towards it a lot more than they would anything else, right?
That's true.
I think it's
slime.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's definitely still very true that it's hard to sell JRPGs on Xbox.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're approaching the month of November. News is starting to get dry sometimes, so I'm gonna ask you guys a quick question. What have you guys been playing recently? And is there any game that you guys want to talk about in particular?
So I haven't been playing much recently, but Andrew, I know that you and me have been talking about doing both.
Why won't you play with me?
So we've been talking about playing a lot of stuff. We've been talking about playing Destiny together. We did play Destiny quite a bit together. We both picked up Lords of Shadow, didn't we? Did you pick up? Sorry, not Lords of Shadow.
Shadow of Mordor.
Shadow of Mordor. So we wanted to talk about that on kind of like a side video for quite some time. And then also, I recently resubbed to Final Fantasy 14, which we've been trying to play, but God, finding time is hard.
Yeah.
So I'd be willing to talk about any of those because I have so much to gush about Shadows of Mordor. The game is so good.
Yeah. I think Evan likes that one a little bit more than I do, but I can agree that's a really good game.
So far, it's hands down my game of the year so far. Like it is, it's phenomenal. I love every and it's also a game where I love everything about it, and I can see that there is so much more that they wanted to do with it. So it's a game that makes me really, really excited for the sequel.
Hmm.
For example, there's a rune system in the game, right? And that very, very obviously points out to me that they wanted to make a loot system, but they just didn't have the time, right? So Shadow of Mordor 2, I have a feeling is going to have all these things that they just kind of missed out on, with the solid, amazing mechanics that Shadows of Mordor 1 had. So I really hope it turns into a franchise, and I really hope we get more of this, because being a pretty decent Lord of the Rings nerd, I'm really excited that this is a game that kind of goes into the expanded universe a bit, as difficult as it is to go into the expanded universe.
Yeah.
Actually, that's another interesting question. Like, as a person that doesn't really know much of Lord of the Rings nor or any of the lore, how hard is it for someone like me to kind of get into the story?
Have you seen the movies?
The first half of the first one, the
What?
first half of the second
Okay,
one,
so
and
what the
the
fuck
final
is
half
wrong
of the
with
third
you?
one.
Yeah, we gotta back up. Why are we talking about video game? Why have you not seen those movies?
Look,
'Cause-
okay. I don't know. I was really tired. It was playing on a tour bus. I watched a bit of it, but I fell asleep. Not because of the
Tour
movie,
bus?
but because I was just actually physically really tired. I was flipping through channels on pay-per-view, and I must have passed like the final half of The Return of the King, which is really good. And then I was at a Christmas dinner party where we were watching Two Towers, the beginning of it, and then we had to go for Christmas dinner.
I like
So-
how Justin has
No,
like
you
these.
skip Christmas dinner for Lord of the Rings.
No, I like how Justin sort of has like. I feel like he's told these stories before. He knows them beat by beat.
Yeah, he's got all of the excuses as
Well,
to
no,
why
because
he's not
it-
seen
because
These
everyone-
are the best movies ever.
Everyone gives me the same reaction when I say it, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I just haven't had the
That's
time to get
almost,
to it
almost
yet.
equivalent to telling me that you haven't seen Star Wars. Like that's how Lord of the Rings is on my chain.
I grew up on Star Wars. That was different.
Yes, but like Lord of the Rings is
It's up there. Yeah.
it's anyways. You really just have to see the movies. You really only have to see the first movie.
Okay.
Because you just need to get an idea of what the universe is and what kind of a shit stain everything's going on. Because
Uh-huh.
in the end, this game does take place long before the movies. It's
Okay.
just that having an idea who Sauron is, having an idea of what the ring is, having
Okay,
an idea
I've-
of
I might.
right.
I might even say you don't need to, because I think a lot of the story is like the emergent storytelling that
Mhm.
sort of happens with the Nemesis system, which, like, you sort of make your own story. The other, like, it is cool. There's a lot of stuff there for people like into the lore, but even
Yeah.
for Justin or someone who's not seen any of the movies, I think they might be able to like enjoy the story as well as the gameplay.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm also not gonna lie. The story in this game is nothing. If there's anything I'm gonna nitpick at this game, it's that the story is nothing phenomenal. But oh god, that ending! Did it give me a rock hard boner?
Really interesting.
All right.
It's just, this shit doesn't happen in Lord of the Rings universe. I'm not gonna spoil it, but holy
Fair
shit.
enough.
But so Andrew, you weren't all that hot on it from what I can tell. What
No,
are
like,
your,
yeah, I liked it, but like I platinumed it and then I gave the game away to someone else. It's really good. It's interesting. Like when I think about it in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, that game was okay. It was good. But then I think about how long it took for me to like finish that game, and it took me like 35 hours. And it was only over a couple of days. So when I think about like the second or third time I turned it on, I was like, oh yeah, 12 hours. It's been 2 days. So that says something. Like it sucks you in to
Mhm.
that. Oh, I'm just gonna do one more like challenge. I'm just gonna do one more side quest. I'm gonna do one more
Mhm.
captain.
All right. So, go for it, Evan.
I definitely agree with you that there's not really much to do once the game's finished. Like there's tons of stuff to do actually. It's just that it's all very repetitive. It's not even repetitive. It's just you kind of get overwhelmed with these generated quests and stuff, so you just kind of start to ignore them. I still haven't platinumed it, but I'm really excited for DLC because I kind of hope that it's good. And it's definitely a game that just doesn't have a lot of end game content, but I also kind of appreciate it for that because it really just focused on making a really, really solid story mode, and then, but the initial flaw of a story mode is that it ends, right? Yeah, I still, I don't know, I could
But
go on.
it does stuff that it's pretty much just a random name generator
Yeah,
that makes the game like makes it like
yeah.
there's
Even there's so much more to this game too that I think it for example, like the side quests. I've talked to you about this before, but the fact that all the side quests in the game, so there's little. You start out as a character a ranger, and you're supposed to become this like epic legend of the Lord of the Rings universe, right? So all the side quests are written in a way that you're making a legend for the weapons that your character carries. Right, so it's like one of the things is like, oh, and he rode in on a Karagor and didn't stop once as he cut down all of the orcs, and she's like, that's awesome. It's just this fact that I can read this thing, instantly imagine this being like a campfire story that people are going to tell later on within this universe, and also within that same thing, it tells me exactly what I'm going to be doing within that quest, right? And I love that so much. It's storytelling in a way that I haven't experienced before, and it makes me really excited.
So I think
One aspect of this game.
yeah, I think me seeing the screenshots and the trailers and the gameplays of it, I think that there's gonna be a few uncanny comparisons to it. So what makes this game different from something like The Witcher or Skyrim, for instance?
I'm surprised that you pull those comparisons.
Really?
Because to me this game is a lot closer to something like Assassin's Creed and the Batman series.
So it's more stealth based.
Yeah, it's got an entire whether it's well done or not stealth mechanic. The stealth mechanic exists, but it's very much you can flat out stand in front of an orc for like 3 seconds before they notice you, and then slaughter them.
I always thought this was like a more of a Witcher style game. I didn't realize there was a heavy stealth component.
It's not really a heavy stealth component.
Okay, fair enough.
It does have stealth in it, but the stealth is not hard by any means.
So
It's
Assassin's
very
Creed.
This
Okay.
game is actually the way that I explain this game to people very much is that this is the best Assassin's Creed I've ever played. um,
Oh man.
and it is by far the best because it opens up Assassin's Creed into so many different, like for example with Assassin's Creed, you have to, when you're at the top of a tower, you have to jump into a hay bale.
Right.
In this, because you're a wraith, you can literally just truck off any building and you turn into a wraith and ground pound the ground and go, yeah, fuck you, what are you gonna do? I'm wraith. And that just, it opens up the game to so much more. This game is the ultimate badassifier because you feel like a fucking badass the entire that you're playing this game.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear like yours and Justin's like sort of opinions on this game since you guys haven't played it. Like, what is it like looking on the outside looking in? Like, how do you feel about it?
Like I said, I originally thought it was more like a Witcher style kind of RPG. Like I'm not even entirely sure because I haven't seen enough of it. The marketing campaign for this game was surprisingly short. The game literally came out of nowhere and it's like, oh, it's coming out next month, and then bam, it comes out and everyone's like, oh my god, it's amazing. Like I don't remember anyone kind of foreseeing the game coming and nothing from E3 or anything. So it was really interesting to kind of like it took me a while to kind of pick up on it. Originally I was like, oh, another Lord of the Rings game. Oh, great one for the fans and stuff. And that's kind of wrote it off. But then when the game actually came out is when I regret all of those words. So I mean I've been looking at it. It looks very interesting. I'm willing to wait for the hype to kind of die down for me to kind of die. That's the kind of person I am. Like if a game like after it's come out, or a movie for that matter, if after it's come out it's got rave reviews and got really high scores or whatever, I kind of wait for things to kind of die down first before I jump into it so that my expectation isn't like absurdly high. Because you know, like it's numbers are always relative, but I'm really excited to try it out, and I'm even more excited now that it's kind of like a Batman Assassin's Creed thing. I'm interested to see how. So is it like an open world kind of thing, or is it more so like missions?
There is an open world. Well, it is Assassin's Creed based in the way that it handles like mission structure and open
Oh, so it's
worldness.
like open world, and then you go to a checkpoint where you kind of select a mission to do. Okay.
Yeah. And you're still in that open world. It just sort of sets up the chessboard, and you have like certain things. And then you can leave whenever you want and restart the mission later.
Yeah,
Like,
and my perspective is that, like, from what I've seen, I actually haven't looked into the game because I'm one of those year behind gamers where I'm
Right.
gonna play this probably next year. But most of what I've seen are screenshots of just like orcs with their heads chopped off, pretty much just badass screenshots. And I mean, and all I hear is good things about the combat system. And I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan too, and I've watched all the movies and I've actually read 2 of the books. But I'm looking, and it's interesting that Evan mentioned that the story wasn't amazing. But in either way, I'm just interested in getting into the world and just experiencing the Lord of the Rings, story and characters, and just immerse myself in it. But like I
Yeah.
said, I'm a year behind gamer, so that's not gonna happen for a while probably.
So I think that one of the best ways to kind of explain this game and explain how awesome it is just to explain one of the interactions that you had with an orc.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just kind of because the nemesis, I could go on for hours about this game without even mentioning the nemesis system, and the nemesis system is the best part of the game.
Yeah.
By far. And I'm gonna rip this story from Ryan because it's just phenomenal. So there was an orc that I'm just gonna replace Ryan with me to make, but so there's an orc that I ran into early on in the game, and it killed me, right? And I died to it, and it got promoted. I tried to fight it again. It failed. I lost again, and I just kept on trying to kill this orc, and finally I ran into a point where I could ambush it. And I jump into this ambush, get overwhelmed, finally like almost take it out. It hits me down, and when you go down and when you die in this game, you actually just kind of like get on one knee, and then you have like a last chance thing. So you get there's like a reticle.
Time event.
If you perform a quick time event, you block the attack and then get like half your health back. But if it happens too much, you just flat out die.
So like a second win system from Borderlands or something.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
gets progressively harder until like the third time you just die.
So this orc has killed me twice by this point, and then finally, or twice or 3 times, I forget. And then finally, I'm surrounded by orcs. He's standing in front of me. He's about to like cut off my head or do something ridiculous to me, and he just turns around and goes, "Too easy," and walks away. It's like, oh my god, you're fucking dead. Like just that aspect of a game where he remembered that he like the nemesis system, they remember every encounter, right? And the fact that he killed me a couple times before and then gets to a point where he says too easy and doesn't even bother to even give me the time of day to kill me anymore. The game screams everything. It's so good. It's play the game, play the damn game.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and also you like I don't know, like it's kind of spoilery. Like we'll leave it. I'll tell it different. Like it's awesome to have like that thing where you're like, oh, like I similar where I just kept dying to this one dude. I couldn't for the life of me beat him, and I finally got to a point where like I could kill him, and then another orc captain walks in, and I'm like, oh my goodness, now I have to deal with 2 of these guys, and then it's like it's the worst, but also the best. It's ugh.
Yeah, I mean, like this game literally has a lot of what I love. Like it's got it without it has a death system that actually makes you actively hate dying, because every single time you die, everything around you gets stronger and you just fuck up a lot. It has a really well written world. The combat is phenomenal. The upgrades make you feel like an absolute badass. By the end of the game, you're just waltzing. Like you start off with this game having trouble dealing with even not having trouble, but like dealing with a normal orc is kind of an issue. And by the end of the game, you're just waltzing through whatever you want. And it even has a mechanic. So I was talking about the stealth earlier. So there's a mechanic in the game where when you walk up, if you stealth creep up on somebody, you have a choice of either like silently killing them, or you can do something which is called I forget what it's like
Brutalize, I think.
yeah, brutalize. So what happens with brutalize is you literally just completely destroy the person in front of you. Like you like stab them in the arm, stab them through the head, like slit their throat open, stab them in the chest a couple times, like absolutely decimate them. And the entire point about this is that it's a loud kill. And if you do this on somebody, all the orcs around him will become terrified of you and run away. Because you just completely slaughtered somebody in front of them and they didn't notice it, right? So just this idea that you can actually be a thing in Mordor that people are actively afraid of you, and by the end of the game you'll walk up to a group of like 3 orcs without even doing anything and they'll just book it the other way because they know who you are and they know that they're going to lose.
So there's like an infamous kind of system where it's like what's the game that I'm thinking about? Fable. Like you know how how gradually in the game like you either get really liked or you like get really feared, and people how depending on what kind of path you've taken, like it's either people will really like you or really fear you kind of thing.
Yeah,
well, except there's not two ways.
You don't have the choice really.
Right,
it's just
right.
we're going to become a god, and why do you care? I don't know. I love this game. It is one of those games that really hits home for me. Everything I love about gaming, and it delivers on almost every one of those points, and it again just makes me really excited for the sequel.
Interesting.
But I think I should shut up about this game now because I could just keep going.
Andrew, is there anything you want to say?
It's definitely a good game.
What did you guys both played it on? What did you guys play it on?
PS4.
PC.
So I guess to kind of wrap things up. So are there like mini games or like mini objectives, side quests kind of thing, or are they all mostly main stuff?
They all deal with the main so there's main story quests, and then there's side story quests that unlock new abilities for you. And then there's also on top of that, so the whole nemesis system is that you have a bunch of warlords and then a bunch of captains.
Okay.
And the captains actually interact within themselves because, say, like Captain A wants to kill Captain B so that he can become the bodyguard for Warlord C, right? So as you're playing the game, you'll open up your map and you'll see things like, oh, like these 2 orcs are actually doing like a one-on-one fight, or this orc's having a feast over here, so you can go over and interrupt them. And if you let those things happen, then the orcs actually get stronger. But you slowly realize in the game that there's way too much stuff happening for you to actually deal with all that stuff. So you kind of have to pick and choose, like, oh, this guy's getting really strong, so I'm going to interrupt his thing. But this guy's really weak, so I'm just going to let him get stronger until I actually care about him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the side quest in the game, is that there's these constant events happening that have to do with the nemesis system.
That's really interesting.
And you have to like choose to stop them or not. And then there's also side quests in terms of like, you're building a legend for your sword, which slowly improves your sword. And then there's also like you're releasing prisoners in Mordor and stuff.
That's like an additional complexity over Mass Effect. Because like in Mass Effect, it's like events that are happening. Like if you don't do like for instance actually I can't say anything really because it's like all story based in case no one's really related. But like you know what I mean, right? Like if you don't do certain side quests in time, either they don't become available anymore, or the people that you're trying to save die, kind of thing. Like I mean it's a loose comparison, and that's why I say it's like an extra level of complexity over Mass Effect in that sense that there are other things happening external from your game, and if you choose to ignore them,
And in Shadow of Mordor, it can even get to the point where there was an orc that I personally had died to a couple times.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that somebody wanted to assassinate him, but I really needed to do something else. And then the other orc that assassinated him ended up killing him. And I'm like, no, you're going to fucking die because you took away my kill from me, and now I'm going to slaughter you in any way I see fit. Right? And just like that stuff doesn't happen in games. And like it also has a decent leveling up system. Oh fuck!
Who's it made by?
Monolith.
What have they done?
Not much.
That's the thing. I have no idea. I'll Google it.
Yeah. So they did Guardians of Middle Earth. They made Fear and the Condemned series.
Fear.
So
They made Fear? Oh.
yeah.
Oh,
And these guys, man,
they're condemned. So they've done it. They've been around the block.
yeah.
Oh, they've been here
They
for
also
a
have a
while,
bunch
though.
of previous games, like they did Alien vs Predator 2, and no, like that was like the only good AVP game.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. If anybody's listening to this, I highly suggest picking this game up, because also the more people that pick it up, the higher chance we have of getting a sequel. And it's one of the few games that I want a sequel for, because I want to play more.
The number one thing I will play for Christmas, guaranteed.
Yeah, it would definitely be a good like Steam sale pickup.
Like
Or
I would,
buy it for-
33% off. I'll still pick it up. Yeah, like,
do you know that's when you're like, man, I want this. I'll even buy it if it's only 33%
it's
off.
only. I have this thing where it's like, unless it's like something that's what I consider like a video game like shifter, kind of in the sense that like it's that, because I didn't realize there's so much nemesis and like there's so much like what's the word? I guess you can call it dynamic in the game. I didn't realize it's just like I thought it was just another kind of Witcher kind of, or stealthy-ish.
It even gets down into the point where if you beat an orc, you don't necessarily kill them. You have to behead them to kill them, right? So it gets down to the point of, if you take out an orc by shooting him in the head with an arrow, the next time you see him, he'll have a huge plate over his eye because you hit him in the head with an arrow. Or like if you burnt them, now they're gonna have burns the next time you see them. Like it's really, really good. And I didn't ever really run into a repeat time playing it. I mean,
I've never run into the same, like the orcs will say something every time you like meet a captain. I've never run into the same dialogue twice.
Yeah.
I'm looking at their wiki page right now, and I'm just like, where did all this come from? Like, I'm looking at their game history, and it's just like, well, I can't even see a game where these ideas may have stemmed from.
It's impressive.
Well, I mean, yeah, this game, go play it, everyone. Go play it.
All right, and I think that concludes our podcast then.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that you guys have been recently playing? Is there some other game that we've probably neglected that we should be playing or talking about? Tweet at us, Facebook, comments, YouTube, or whatever. To the 10 unicorns that are watching this, I think it's 10. I'm not sure.
So 5, because do we all watch this?
I've actually, as a sign of good faith, I don't. My YouTube channel is not subscribed to this channel. I don't think, or maybe it is. I don't remember anymore.
Well,
I don't.
Anyways, thank you for watching this far. Please continue watching it if you do watch it, and we will see you for next time. Bye bye for now.
Bye.